Please see Broken Bar just for one day. Pretend to be my date. Her voice trembled as she stood before the man every business magazine called the coolest billionaire in the city. And yet, behind her shaky smile and desperate eyes, there was a story no headline could ever tell. It all began on a rainy afternoon in the heart of New York. Emma Carter sat inside a small cafe tilde copyright, her fingers tracing the rim of her empty coffee cup. The email still glowed on her phone screen. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Daniel Lewis and Emily Rose. Her heart sank every time she read those words. Daniel, her first love, the man who once promised her forever, was marrying someone else. She told herself she was over him. She told herself she had moved on. But when her best friend texted, "You're going, right? You can't let them think they broke you," Emma knew she couldn't hide forever. She would go away, but not alone. That's when fate stepped in. The door of the cafe tilde copyright swung open, and a tall man in a dark coat entered. His presence drew every gaze. His name was Adrian Blackwood, a self-made CEO whose empire stretched from luxury hotels to tech investments. He was the kind of man whose eyes saw through people, whose silence spoke louder than words. Emma knew him only because she worked in the marketing department of his company, a quiet, invisible employee in a world far above her own. And yet, that day, destiny made their paths cross. She had accidentally spilled coffee on his coat a few weeks ago during a company event. She apologized 1,000 times, but he had simply said, "Just be more careful next time," and walked away. She never imagined she'd see him again, but here he was, sitting 2 tables away, looking out the window as if the world outside owed him something. Emma's heart raced. A wild, impossible thought entered her mind. What if Broken Bar he pretends to be my date? It was insane. He'd never agree, but she had nothing to lose. She walked up to him, her knees shaking. "Mr. Blackwood?" she said softly. He turned, his gray eyes calm but piercing. "Yes? Yeah, I need a favor. Just for one day." He raised a brow. "A favor? Could you pretend to be my date? Just for one day. My ex is getting married and Broken Bar." Her voice cracked. "I don't want him to think I'm still broken." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, to her shock, he simply asked, "When?" Emma blinked. "You mean a broken bar you'll do it?" He looked at her, almost curious. "I have a free weekend, and you look like you need to win." The day of the wedding came. Emma wore a simple yet elegant lavender gown, one she bought with her savings, trying her best to look confident. But when Adrian arrived to pick her up, wearing a black tailored suit that made every woman in the hotel lobby stare, she felt her heart skip a beat. "You clean up well," he said with the faintest smirk. "You too," she replied, though her cheeks burned. When they entered the grand ballroom, all eyes turned. The music paused for just a second. Daniel, her ex, froze mid-sentence when he saw her walk in, her arm linked with Adrian's. The whispers began instantly. "Isn't that Adrian Blackwood, the billionaire? What's he doing here with her?" Emma held her head high, pretending not to notice, but inside, her heart was pounding. Every smile, every fake laugh, every moment she had to pretend they were a couple felt like walking on a tightrope. But Adrian Broken Bar he played the role perfectly. He placed a gentle hand on her back as they walked. He whispered compliments in her ear that made even her forget they were pretending. When Daniel approached, a awkward smile, fake charm, Adrian shook his hand firmly and said, "Emma told me a lot about you. You must be proud of what you've lost." Daniel's smile faltered. Emma tried not to laugh. As the evening went on, something strange happened. Between the fake smiles and the pretending, the emotions began to feel real. Adrian saw how Emma's hands trembled when she saw Daniel dancing with his new bride. He leaned closer and whispered, "He doesn't deserve your tears." Emma looked up at him, tears glistening. "You don't even know me." He smiled faintly. "I don't need to. I can see your heart, and it's worth more than he ever understood." That was the moment something in her healed. When the wedding ended, and the music faded, Adrian walked her to her apartment. "Thank you," she said softly. "You didn't have to do all that." He looked at her for a long moment. "You asked me to pretend," he said, "but I didn't have to pretend everything." Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "That part where I said your heart was worth more, I meant it. Days turned into weeks. The story of Emma and the billionaire spread across the company. People whispered, laughed, speculated. But Emma didn't care, because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of being seen. She had faced her past, stood tall, and learned that worth isn't defined by who loves you but by how you rise after you've been broken. Adrian began visiting the marketing department more often. At first, with excuses, project updates, progress reports, but slowly, it became clear he wasn't there for business. One day, he invited her for dinner, not as an act, but as something real. "I thought you didn't like pretending," she teased. He smiled. "I don't. That's why this time, I'm asking for something real." Months later, as they walked through Central Park under a soft drizzle of the same kind of rain that once made her feel lonely, Emma looked up and whispered, "You changed my life." Adrian took her hand and said, "No, Emma, you changed your own life. I just happened to be there when you remembered your worth."